Key Teacher Scholarship Program.
If Walls Could Talk, Part 2, Walls for Classroom Management and Instruction. Introduction. Good teachers do not just stand and deliver. They create a classroom environment that encourages student participation in all aspects of the learning process. If a classroom is truly learner-centered, it creates independent learners that can take responsibility for their own learning. A creative teacher can be sure that the wall space of the room is used to manage the classroom, support language learning, and increase student participation. Reflection point. How do you use the wall space in your classroom to help manage the classroom, support language learning, and increase student participation? Lakelands Park Middle School in Montgomery County, Maryland, is a wonderful example of how to utilize the physical environment, particularly the wall space, as a tool to give effective instruction and increase learners' participation in the learning process. In this video, 3 teachers at Lakelands Park Middle School show us how they use wall space in the school to promote student achievement by using the walls as an integral part of classroom instruction. Walls that instruct. First, communicate class expectations. Second, teach vocabulary and grammar. Third, increase student participation. Fourth, promote learner autonomy. You will watch different school leaders and teachers describing how to use walls for managing the classroom and giving instruction at Lakelands Park Middle School. Notice the following about each wall display: purpose, placement, content, design. Please notice wall displays that are being discussed as well as displays that may not be explained, but can be seen behind or around the speakers. First, wall displays can be used to communicate class expectations.
One of the things that all teachers have in their classrooms are the objective, agenda, and homework that are always posted every day. And oftentimes teachers use more visual cards, such as this one, to help describe exactly what it is students are going to know and be able to do by the end of the lesson. Another way that teachers utilize their wall space is to help with the flow of the classroom. So oftentimes they will post the order in which things should occur during a lesson. And so an example of that is what we have up here, which is the daily routine for the classroom. So you can see that it starts out with greeting the teacher, taking out homework, sharpening pencils, and so on and so forth. So students can easily look and be reminded of what it is they're supposed to be doing at any given time in a class period.
In a nutshell, in terms of what the expectations are, what the course expectations are, how do they transfer from ESOL 1 to ESOL 2, some of the rubrics that I have. So in case there is some sort of question from my ESOL 2, ESOL 3 students about why they received this particular grade, I can always refer them to the information back here.
Second, wall displays can be used to teach vocabulary and grammar. Charles Wong uses wall displays to teach English vocabulary and grammar to his ESOL students.
I label my word walls and other various classroom objects because even though a student may know their alphabet, spelling, enunciation, pronunciation of the letters tends also to be difficult. And it's also a great way for me to double check on their spelling and say, hey, I notice you know your ABCs. Do you know how to spell alphabet? So it's just another way to get the whole class included in a particular assignment, whereas one student may be learning what are the letters after B, what's the letter between M and O, others are reading it just straight A through Z, others are using it to identify first sound, first letter. I also have for my higher level ESOL the varying rules of grammar. Every time they have a question, I will always refer them to a wall to say, hey, don't forget your capitalization rules, your parts of speech, etc.
Kirsten Corprew explains how the wall display is utilized for the math classroom.
This is a very language-rich environment. Even though it is a math classroom and you would expect to see just numbers, we really do have a lot of vocabulary all over this room. And these are some things that we'll see in every classroom. These, we call them skill verbs. And these are the verbs that really help students think critically and answer critical questions.
Katie Hoffmaster, science teacher, shows how she utilizes wall displays to enhance student vocabulary learning.
Over here are some word wall cards that I use with my students. When we have finished a unit or as we're going through a unit, they get a list of vocabulary words that they can choose from, and they need to, on the front of the card, draw a picture to represent that concept. And then on the back, they will write a sentence and with that word in the sentence and a definition of the word as well. So that when they need to, if they forget the definition of a word or a concept we've been discussing, they can just come over to the wall and flip up the card that they need to learn, and they can see what is written. It really helps to get the kids interested in our vocabulary and our content, and they feel comfortable coming up here and looking. It's their work displayed. They feel confident about that. And it really helps with our ELL kids when they need to have something visual, or even our IEP students when a visual is necessary. It really helps us.
Third, in addition to wall displays, visual objectives can help increase student participation.
And now we're going to take a look at some classrooms and the wall displays in various classrooms in our building. The first display I'd like to point out to you is actually a mural that some students created that depicts a unit that they were studying in their social studies class.
One good example of increasing student participation is using helping hands.
You can see that each handprint has the role or job that that student is responsible for doing in the classroom, and then this card corresponds to the seat number that the child sits in. So this teacher knows that seat number 8, whomever is in seat number 8, is the substitute for that particular class period.
Katie Hoffmaster uses calling sticks to enhance student participation.
These are calling sticks, otherwise known as equity sticks, and I have one per class period. And essentially, these are to ensure that every student has an equal chance of being called on for whatever the question is, for whatever the activity is. Anytime we need student input, every student is on their toes and waiting to maybe be called on. The idea is to put one back in after you've called on a student, so each time you are calling on students, they have that equal chance of being called. In the beginning of the year, have the students decorate them themselves. A lot of times they get very excited about being called. Some students, however, have a little bit of anxiety, so it is important to make sure you give them enough time to think about their answer and to have some student discourse in order for the anxiety to be a little bit relieved, because we all get a little nervous when we don't have enough time to think of what we're going to say. So it's a great way to get everybody involved and, like I said, keep them on their toes.
Fourth, wall displays can promote learner autonomy by making class materials available.
So if ever a student is not here, all of the work that was taken care of in any particular class is put into these little folders depending on the day of the week, and then when the student returns to school, he or she can then just grab a copy of whatever he or she missed. There's also a spot for the teacher to write all of the exact things that happened in class that day in terms of the warm-up, any in-class work, or any homework, and what, if anything, was graded.
Katie Hoffmaster utilizes the board to manage classroom resources.
I use when students forget to return pencils. They are a good thing for us to have here, and when they don't bring them back, we run out of those resources. So this is just a way to remind them that those pencils are homesick and that we want them back.
Now you have seen many different kinds of wall displays and thought about their purpose, placement, content, and design. Think about which ones you already use in your classroom. Which ones have you never used? Which ones would you like to use in the future? Think about which kinds of wall displays would be effective and appropriate in your teaching context. Conclusion. As these exemplary teachers at Lakelands Park Middle School have shown, the use of walls can help teachers involve students in the learning process more effectively. Wall displays can focus young students on the objectives for the class. Wall displays can be co-constructed by the students to show their comprehension of vocabulary and then be a resource for English learners to refer to during class. Wall displays can help the teacher define roles for students and increase their participation. Wall displays can also help students become more responsible for their own learning and help them become more independent learners. Teachers can build classroom routines and use the wall space to reinforce these routines to help manage student behavior. Remember that you have limited time in class with your students, so it is a good idea to use wall displays to refer to information and build routines that can help you manage your time efficiently and focus on the content of your lessons.
E-Teacher Scholarship Program.